In every country and market, whether it's in a big city or a small village, and regardless of whether the area is wealthy or not, products go through a process to reach consumers through distribution channels. The distribution process. 1. Physical handling. It involves moving the products from one place to another, like from a factory to a store. 2. Passage of ownership. It is about the transfer of ownership of the products. It starts with the producer and passes through middlemen, like wholesalers and retailers, before reaching the customer. 3. Buying and selling negotiations. This part is crucial for marketing. It involves discussions and deals between the producers and the middlemen, and then between the middlemen and the customers. Every country has its own unique system for how goods move from the producer to the user. This system is called the distribution structure. Within this structure, there are different types of middlemen who help move the products along. These middlemen perform various functions, activities, and services. The way they operate depends on 1. Competition. How many other businesses are doing the same thing? 2. Market characteristics. Specific traits of the market, like the types of products and customers. 3. Tradition. Established customs and practices in that market. 4. Economic development. The level of development and growth in the economy. In some countries, the way goods are distributed focuses on importing products. A key player called the importer brings in a fixed amount of goods from other countries. And this importer controls how much of the product is available. Marketing approach used by this importer would be to have limited supply to hype the price. That means since there's a limited supply, these goods are sold at high prices. Due to the high prices, the target market is usually a small group of wealthy customers who can afford these high-priced goods. In this type of market, there are more customers wanting to buy the product than there are products available. This means the seller has the advantage. 1. No need for mass distribution. Because the supply is limited and the demand is high, there's no need to spread the products widely or aggressively market them. 2. Customer seeks supply. Customers know that only a few middlemen, like specific stores or dealers, have these products. This creates a seller's market where there's no need for wide distribution or heavy marketing, as the demand is already high and customers actively seek out the limited supply from a few middlemen. Distribution in Japan is so unique and complex that it often acts as a barrier to entering the Japanese market. Even without tariffs, international companies find it difficult to follow the distribution used by Japanese companies. Because the Japanese distribution system is quite different from those in the US or Europe. Understanding these differences is crucial for anyone thinking about entering the Japanese market. In the next slide we will discuss some of the features of the Japanese distribution system. The first feature is having many small middlemen and retailers. Japan's distribution system involves many small intermediaries or middlemen who connect with many small retail stores. And this could be a complex network for foreign businesses. Example, instead of large warehouses and big supermarkets, products often pass through several small businesses before reaching the consumer. Second feature is the fact that manufacturers control the channels. That means the manufacturers have a lot of control over how those products are distributed. Example, a manufacturer might decide which wholesalers and retailers can sell their products, maintaining strict control over the supply chain. Next feature is Japan's unique business philosophy. The way businesses operate in Japan is deeply influenced by Japanese culture, emphasizing long-term relationships, loyalty, and trust, rather than focusing only on immediate profit. Next feature is Japanese protective laws for its small retailers. There are laws in place to protect small retail businesses, ensuring they can compete with larger firms. Example, regulations might limit the size of new retail outlets or offer support to small businesses, helping them survive and thrive in the market. In summary, Japan's distribution system is unique because it involves many small middlemen and retailers, is tightly controlled by manufacturers, operates with a business philosophy shaped by Japanese culture, and is supported by laws that protect small retailers. This creates a distinct and complex distribution environment that is different from those in other countries. In the United States, products typically go through fewer steps to reach the consumer. This means fewer middlemen and larger stores. In Japan, there are more steps and middlemen before products reach the consumer. This creates longer distribution channels. Now, let's look into the role of small retail stores in both countries. In the United States, small stores account for 7.7% of retail food sales. In Japan, small stores account for 76.4%, which is much higher than in the US. A significant portion of non-food sales also happens in small stores in Japan. While non-food sales for Japan is as high as 139%, in the US it's 41% and in Germany only 9%. These percentages shows the significance of middlemen in Japan. Today, very few countries can stay isolated from global economic and political changes. This means that what happens in one part of the world can affect many others. Multinational marketers are always looking for ways to reach market segments that are currently served by expensive, old-fashioned distribution systems. They want to find more efficient ways to get their products to consumers without spending too much money. Finally, there are some key trends in distribution that suggest we might see more similarities among middlemen in different countries over time. Instead of having huge differences, we could start to see more common practices as businesses adapt to these changes. For instance, Mary Kay Cosmetics and Amway have made their way into China, tapping into a huge potential customer base there. Similarly, LL Bean and Lands' End have found success in Japan, where they've introduced their American styles and products. We are also seeing retailers from one country teaming up with former competitors or companies from other countries to create larger, Europe-wide businesses. A good example is Carrefour, a major French retailer, merging with Promodes, which used to be one of its biggest rivals in France. Another example is the UK supermarket giant Sainsbury, which has partnered with Esselunga, an Italian supermarket, to strengthen their presence in Europe. These moves show how companies are adapting and growing by exploring new markets and forming alliances. Slide 11. European retailers see the unification of Europe as a great chance to expand across multiple countries. They aim to create larger, more integrated businesses that operate efficiently throughout Europe. Another reason why foreign retailers are drawn to Europe is because of the higher profit margins and prices. For instance, Costco, a warehouse retailer from the US, noticed that British supermarkets have higher gross margins, about 7 to 8% compared to US supermarkets, which had 2.5 to 3% gross margins. Seeing this opportunity, Costco decided to enter the British market. They plan to offer prices that are initially 10 to 20% cheaper than those of local competitors, attracting price-sensitive customers and gaining a foothold in the market. Traditional distribution systems have laid the foundation for the way goods are moved and sold in a market. So, even though distribution patterns are changing and new methods are emerging, international marketers still need to understand the traditional distribution systems. Knowing how things have been done helps in navigating current and evolving markets. Because traditional systems won't disappear quickly. They have been in place for a long time and will continue to influence markets for years. Marketers should expect these older systems to exist alongside new ones. Most international companies must use middlemen, like distributors or agents, to get their products to customers. The structure of many markets requires this, so companies need to plan for it in their distribution strategies. This distribution pattern outlines the journey a product takes from the beginning, that is buying materials, to until the end, that is to the final sales to the customer. This image shows who is involved at each stage and how VAT or value-added tax and excise duty are applied. It starts when manufacturers buy materials. The process starts with buying raw materials. The manufacturer buys these materials and VAT is applied at this stage, meaning the company pays a tax for buying the materials. Next step is manufacturer to wholesaler or warehousing. The manufacturer produces the product and then sells it to a wholesaler or sends it to a warehouse for storage. During this sale, two things happen. 1. VAT is applied again, so the wholesaler or warehouse pays tax on the products. 2. Excise duty might also be applied if the product is something like alcohol or tobacco, which has extra taxes. This would again be paid by the manufacturer. Next step is from wholesaler or warehousing to retailer. The wholesaler then sells the product to a retailer, like a shop. VAT is charged again, so the retailer pays tax when they buy the product. Last step is when the product moves from the retailer to the final customer. Finally, the retailer sells the product to the customer. The customer pays VAT or value-added tax, which is included in the price they see at the store. Retailing, or the way stores sell products to customers, is even more varied than wholesaling. For example, in Italy and Morocco, you'll find many small specialty shops that focus on very specific types of products, like a store that only sells leather goods. But in Finland, most stores carry a wide range of items, so you might find clothes, home goods, and electronics all in one place. Then, on the larger end of the scale, we have huge department stores like Mitsukoshi in Japan, which serves over 100,000 customers every day. So, retail looks very different depending on where you are, from small specialty shops to massive, all-in-one stores. On the other hand, in the markets of Ibadan, Nigeria, you'll find around 3,000 small stalls, each run by 1 or 2 people, serving a relatively small number of customers. Some manufacturers, like Cartier and Disney, sell their products directly to consumers through their own stores without any middleman. But other manufacturers use several layers of middlemen to reach their customers. In Italy, there are 931,000 retail stores, which means there's one store for every 63 people. Among the 269,000 food stores, fewer than 10,000 are large. This makes retailers very important for getting products to people in Italy. In South Africa, the situation is different. There are 31,000 stores, but just 1,000 of them handle 60% of all grocery sales. These 1,000 stores are the largest supermarkets in South Africa. So as I said, these 1,000 control 60% of the market. This leaves the remaining 40% of sales to be shared among the other 30,000 stores. This shows how grocery sales are concentrated in a few large supermarket chains in South Africa. When distribution systems in a market are not well developed, companies often sell directly to consumers through mail, phone, or door-to-door sales, which is also called personal selling. For example, Amway, which operates in 42 countries, has successfully expanded into Latin America and Asia using direct marketing. Yes, that's correct. Amway uses personal selling as a key part of its direct marketing strategy. This means that representatives reach out to customers directly, often through methods like in-person meetings, phone calls, or online interactions. This approach allows them to explain their products, answer questions, and help customers make purchases without relying on traditional retail stores. Many companies are finding success by having regular people sell their products. This is especially popular in Eastern Europe, where many individuals are eager to start their own businesses. For instance, when Amway started selling in the Czech Republic, they quickly signed up 25,000 people to become distributors. In just the first 2 weeks, they sold 40,000 starter kits for $83 each. This shows how eager people are to get involved in selling products and becoming entrepreneurs. Let's create a distribution plan for products or services in Sri Lanka and Seychelles. It involves understanding the unique market conditions, customer preferences, and available distribution channels in each country. Next, we will discuss a proposed distribution plan for both locations, assuming we are introducing a hypothetical product, organic herbal tea. First, let's discuss Sri Lanka's market overview. Sri Lanka is known for its tea production, with a growing interest in organic products. There is a demand for high-quality herbal teas due to health-conscious consumers. Next, let's talk about the target market in Sri Lanka. They are possibly the health-conscious individuals, young professionals, and tourists seeking organic options. Now, let's look at distribution channels. We can do direct sales in Sri Lanka via company-owned stores. Establish a few flagship stores in urban centers like Colombo and Kandy, focusing on organic and specialty teas. Next, we also have the option for retail partnerships. Supermarkets can be a good option for this. Partner with major supermarket chains such as Cargill's, Kiehl's, and Arpico to place products in their health food sections. Another good option is using health stores. Collaborate with health and organic food stores, such as HealthGuard, to reach niche markets. Next, we can explore e-commerce too. Set up an e-commerce platform and partner with local e-commerce websites like Daraz.lk for online distribution. Next, HoReCa sector is another option. Supply local cafes and restaurants that focus on organic or health-oriented menus. Offer them exclusive blends to attract customers. Next, let's discuss the promotional strategies in Sri Lanka. Option 1. Sampling events. Organize tasting events at supermarkets and health fairs to engage customers. Option 2. Social media marketing. Use platforms like Facebook and Instagram to promote the health benefits of herbal tea and engage with customers. Option 3. Influencer partnerships. Collaborate with health influencers to boost brand visibility. When businesses try to improve the distribution system by adding new types of middlemen or introducing new ways of selling, these changes are often seen as threats to traditional practices, so people tend to resist them. Take Italy, for example. If someone wants to open a new store, they need permission from a local board made up of other business owners. Over 2 years, about 200 people applied to open new stores, but only 10 actually got approved. So, change doesn't happen easily. Even with these kinds of obstacles, new ways of retailing, like self-service, discount stores, extended store hours, and big stores that offer lots of brands, are still growing. Why? Because they are convenient and let customers choose from a variety of quality products at good prices. So, even though change is hard, it can still succeed when it offers customers real benefits. When a company wants to sell its products, it can choose to do everything itself, like setting up its own offices and delivering products directly to customers. Or, it can work with intermediaries, or middlemen, who help get the products to the final buyers. Choosing the right path for distribution is a big decision because, once a company picks a method, it's not easy to change. If the wrong choice is made, it could limit the company's growth in that market. So, businesses need to think carefully about which option will best support their long-term success. This diagram represents different ways that a company from the home country can distribute its products to customers in a foreign country. It shows several paths the product can take, depending on the company's choices. Let me break it down simply. Let's start with home country, domestic side. 1. Domestic producer. This is the company in the home country that makes the product. The company can choose one of several ways to get the product to the foreign market. 2. Domestic wholesale middleman. The producer can sell the product to a domestic wholesaler. The wholesaler then takes care of getting the product to the foreign country. 3. Export management company or company sales force. Instead of a wholesaler, the producer might use an export management company, a company that specializes in handling exports, or its own sales team to manage the export process. 4. Exporter. No matter which option is chosen, either wholesaler, export management company, or company sales force, the product eventually reaches an exporter, the business or organization that officially sends the product out of the home country to the foreign country. Now, let's discuss foreign country. Option 1. Importer. Once the product arrives in the foreign country, it is received by an importer. The importer is responsible for bringing the goods into the foreign market. Option 2. Foreign agent or merchant wholesalers. The importer might then sell the products to a foreign agent or merchant wholesalers in the foreign country. These are people or companies who buy in bulk and distribute products further down the chain. Option 3. Foreign retail. The foreign wholesalers may then sell the products to foreign retailers, who will ultimately offer the product to consumers. Option 4. Foreign consumer. Finally, the foreign consumer buys the product from the foreign retailer. As you can see here, it is also possible to sell directly to foreign customers, e.g. if the customer directly buys from the manufacturer's website. The thing with middlemen is that they aren't easy to define or label. What they do can vary a lot, depending on what roles they play. This is especially tricky when working internationally. For example, a British middleman called a stockist might stock and resell goods, while an exporter or importer handles goods going in or out of the country. But even these terms can be misleading. An exporter might actually be working as an agent, meaning they are just arranging the sale on behalf of a company, or they could be a merchant, buying and reselling the goods themselves. Many international middlemen take on multiple roles at once, like sometimes being an agent for one product and a merchant for another. So to really understand what a middleman does, you have to look closely at how they are working with each specific company. Domestic middlemen are those who are located right here, in the home country of the company producing the goods. Their job is to help market and distribute these products without actually going overseas themselves. When a company chooses to use domestic middlemen, it's basically saying, let's have someone else handle the overseas distribution for us. This approach has some real benefits, especially for companies with limited experience in international sales or those who don't want to dive straight into complex foreign markets. It's also helpful for companies that want to keep their international efforts small, both in terms of cost and management effort. Types of domestic middlemen is discussed in detail from the coming slides. Some companies sell their products directly through their own stores. That is when manufacturers have their own retail stores. This means they own the store or have a franchise. Example, companies like Disney or Benetton have their own stores where they sell their toys or clothes directly to customers. Next, large stores that operate in many countries, like IKEA, Walmart, or Toys R Us, act as important middlemen. They buy products from manufacturers and sell them to customers worldwide. Example, if you go to a Walmart in any country, you might find toys from different countries that were brought in through Walmart's global network. Now, let's discuss export management companies, EMC. EMCs help companies that want to sell their products internationally but may not want to deal with all the details themselves. They handle export tasks for smaller companies. Example, if a small coffee company wants to sell its beans overseas but doesn't have the staff to manage it, it can hire an EMC to take care of the exporting process. Next are trading companies. These companies have been around for a long time and help connect different countries by buying, transporting, and selling goods. They play a key role in international trade. Example, a trading company might buy textiles from India, ship them to the US, and sell them to various clothing manufacturers in the US. Next, let's understand a little about US export trading companies, ETC. This type of company allows several producers of similar products to come together to export their goods. The goal is to make exporting easier and to boost US exports. Example, if several farmers want to sell their organic apples abroad, they might form an ETC to work together and share resources. Next, we also have complementary marketers. These are companies that already sell products in different countries and can help other brands by adding their products to their lineup. This method is often called piggybacking. Example, a company that sells toothpaste might also start selling batteries, using its existing distribution networks to reach new customers. Let's look at manufacturer's export agent, MEA, next. An MEA is someone who sells products for a manufacturer on a short-term basis. They don't act as a full export department but help sell products in specific markets for a commission. Example, if a toy manufacturer wants to sell in just one country for a few months, it might hire an MEA to handle sales during that time. Next option is Foreign Sales Corporation, FSC. An FSC is a company set up in another country that can get tax breaks on profits from selling exported goods. This helps encourage more exports. Example, if a US company creates a sales office in Canada to sell its products, that office can benefit from tax exemptions on some of its earnings from exports. Just like in the United States, there are many types of agent and merchant middlemen in other countries. Now, if a company wants to have more control over how its products are sold in a foreign market, it might choose to work directly with these local middlemen instead of going through several layers of distribution. This direct connection can help the company because it creates shorter pathways for getting products to customers and ensures they are working with middlemen who understand the local market well. In other words, by dealing directly with foreign middlemen, companies can respond quicker to changes and better meet the needs of their customers in that country. When businesses want to sell products or services to any government, they have to work directly with government purchasing officers. These officers are responsible for buying everything the government needs, whether at the national, regional, or local level. For example, in the Netherlands, there's a government office that buys goods from more than 10,000 suppliers in 20 different countries. So, if a company wants to supply products to the government, they go through these official purchasing offices rather than regular commercial channels.